Hello, this is MrChabry, and I was wondering what would it be like if I played Pokemon Red as if I was a Fire-type gym leader. So that's what we're going to do. I can only use Fire-type Pokemon. Let's hop right into this. As a Fire-type gym leader, we need a name that is thematically tied to our type. Ash seems to be perfect in that regard. So, of course, Charmander is going to be our starter. Pretty obvious. Fire type. It evolves into Charizard, and that's actually a great fire type for our playthrough. Unfortunately, we are very unlucky when it comes to our first battle, and we end up losing to Blue and his Squirtle. But that's okay. We will train, we will come back, and we will defeat him once we challenge him again. The first hour is pretty much spent doing things that you have to do early on in the game before you can have access to the wider world. We get Professor Oak's parcel, and by the time we reach the 1 hour mark, we have just recently made our way into the Viridian Forest. Within the second hour, we make a lot more progress. We're able to defeat Brock. I'm able to evolve Charmander into Charmeleon, and once we reach the end of the second hour, we are now at Mount Moon. Hour 3 sees us facing our rival, and unfortunately losing the first time, but we are able to finally defeat the rival and continue on our journey. It is now that we can finally defeat Nugget Bridge and make our way to Bill's house. During the fourth hour, we make it to Bill's house, and also teach Charmeleon Seismic Toss. Now I think Seismic Toss is going to be very useful in the battle against Misty. I don't really have much in terms of ability to put damage on her Starmie, so Seismic Toss might actually help me out in this battle. And even though I've got 6 levels on the Starmie is still able to defeat my Charmeleon. So I actually decide to go ahead and go to Vermilion City, so that way I can train up Charmeleon a little bit more. And after doing a little bit of training, we end up finding ourselves in the 5th hour. I finally end up defeating Misty, and also complete the SS Anne storyline. We then defeat Lieutenant Surge quite easily, surprisingly, and we are able to evolve Charmeleon into Charizard. And now that we have finally exited Rock Tunnel, we can actually add some more Pokemon to our team. And after a few tries, I am finally able to capture Growlithe. I also pick up the free Eevee that you can receive. I will, of course, be evolving this thing into Flareon. In the 9th hour, I make it to Erica's gym, and being that I've got Fire-type Pokemon, it's actually a pretty easy win for us. I then open up the road to Saffron City and take on the Rocket Hideout. I also go ahead and evolve Arcanine, and by the 11th hour, we are finally where we can face Giovanni. After doing some training, I decide to take on Pokemon Tower at Lavender City, and the tower is actually completed within the 13th hour. Once we reach hour 14, it's time to make our way to Fuchsia City, where I can finally get another gym badge. Koga is defeated pretty quickly, about 23 minutes in. I use the remaining time to do some training and to work my way through the Safari Zone. I end up completing it on the last minute of the 14th hour. I spend a few hours doing some training of the trainers that I kind of skipped, and I end up catching a Krabby because it's one of the best HM mons. It can learn Surf, Strength, and Cut. Within that 17th hour, I also surf to Cinnabar Island, catch another Pokemon, this one being Ponyta, and finish up the Pokemon Mansion. Now that I've got the key, I'm going to go take on Blaine, so I may become the official Fire-type gym leader. I actually end up battling all of the trainers here because I've noticed my Pokemon are kind of under-leveled when compared to the Pokemon in this gym. So what I'm hoping is that I can bring my level up so that I may be able to handle Blaine. Even though technically this isn't the toughest battle, or the most important if you're doing a normal playthrough, for the storyline of this episode, this is where it happens. I'm going to face on Blaine with my Fire-type Pokemon, and I'm going to start off with a Reflect to get some armor. But my opponent has the Growlithe. I'm going to go ahead and get a few double teams, I am kind of underleveled if you haven't noticed, so I'm thinking that might be my best case in handling this battle. I'm going to go ahead and go for Swift because that's neutral. I don't really have anything else to do much damage to my opponent's Growlithe. Now that Growlithe goes down, Blaine is going to go ahead and send out his Ponyta. I recently got a Ponyta. Ponyta is a Pokemon that's not the best. I'm going to go ahead and Swift this thing twice, and we're going to see a Super Potion pop. One more Swift, and it's another Super Potion. Blaine really wanting to keep this Ponyta alive. It hits with the Growl, and that's actually really bad for me because Swift is a physical move in Generation 1. So it's going to really hurt the damage output of that. So much so that I'm going to go ahead and switch out my Flareon, even though I do have the double team helping me out. And I'm going to go into Arcanine. What I'm wanting to do is get some experience on this Arcanine. I'll go ahead and fire off a Toxic. That's going to help me out. And then I'm going to go ahead and get some armor onto my Arcanine. The interesting thing is that Reflect works so much different in Generation 1 than it does later. You can only give that Pokemon armor. You're not actually setting up screens or anything like that. Double Edge is my best option here, but you can see it's not really doing a lot. And the Rapidash is able to fire off a Stomp. And that hurts us quite a bit. But the Toxic Poison finally whittles down the Rapidash. Things are finally looking good for us. And Arcanine gets to level 34. So now this leaves my opponent's last Pokemon, their own Arcanine. So Arcanine versus Arcanine, Blaine's Arcanine versus Ash's. I'm going to go ahead and fire off a Toxic as Blaine wastes his first turn, and then he wastes his second turn with a Roar. Odd that he has Roar on this Arcanine. So I'm going to go ahead and switch into Flareon. I really want to get some experience on this Flareon since it's so underleveled. And that's going to help us out later on because if I'm too underleveled when I get to the Elite Four, it's just going to make things so much more difficult. I realize I only have 2 Swifts to go. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of my Swifts. However, I take a ton of damage from a Double Edge. Not really good. I'm going to go ahead and switch out, go into my Ponyta. I'm hoping to get this thing leveled up enough that it can evolve into a Rapidash, and then my team would mostly be complete. I'm going to go ahead and go for Stomp. That's my best option here with Ponyta. And there we go. We have finally defeated Blaine. We are now the gym leaders of Cinnabar Island. However, that's not the end of the game, of course. We're going to go ahead and get the remaining gym and take on the Elite Four. But it's just so great seeing our fire types go toe-to-toe with Blaine's. So I actually made my way all the way to Vermilion City just to realize that I actually forgot to get the badge from Saffron City. That means I'm going to have to go ahead and do the Silphco part of the story, which takes a long time. I was actually excited about getting to the end game, but there's still a huge chunk of the middle portion of the story that I have to complete before I can make it back to Vermilion City. So going into hour 20, we are actually in the Silphco building. We defeat our rival once again, and we defeat Giovanni. It actually takes quite a while in here because of how enormous this structure is and how long you can spend your time lost. We quickly defeat Sabrina, and that just leaves the final gym badge, Giovanni. We can finally take on Giovanni now. Giovanni does give us a little bit of trouble, and that's because Giovanni has quite a few rock types that can really take these fire type moves pretty well. And plus, his Pokemon are ground type, and they have really powerful ground type moves. So we are able to finally get the last gym badge. Surprisingly, the final rival battle before the Elite Four turns out to be pretty difficult for us. We just go ahead and fire off some stomps. However, we do take some damage on our Ponyta. We see the Rhyhorn. Now, I am afraid of this Rhyhorn just because of how powerful it is. However, I do have Dig on my Charizard from earlier, and it's just very good against this thing because it hits it with super effective damage. I go into my Arcanine to take down Growlithe. It's not much of a problem for us. I go ahead and go into Flareon, let Flareon get some experience, and Ember will finish it off. Out comes Alakazam, and this thing goes for a Reflect, which is going to make it that much bulkier, and we lose Flareon. I go ahead and go for a nasty double edge. However, you can see with that reflect, it's able to take those very well. So I just fire off some more. You can see it's still doing a lot of damage back to me. And I go into Charizard because Charizard has Slash, and it's able to cut through it. However, I only have 6 HP left. Flamethrower, I want to point this out. Flamethrower is one of the best Fire-type moves you can get in Gen 1, and Charizard now has it. I'm going to go into my Ponyta to face down this Blastoise, and I stomp it a few times, try to get some damage on it. And now Charizard's level is a little bit lower than my opponent's. I've only got 6 HP. I'm going to start fire off some slashes, and we get hit with a Hydro Pump. So Arcanine's really my last Pokemon. My HM Pokemon's not really going to do much, but we do get a burn on this thing, which is great. And one last Fire Blast finishes it off. A close battle. Now that I can reach Victory Road, it's time to fill out the final Pokemon that's going to be a part of our team. That's going to be Moltres. Moltres is the legendary bird who happens to be a fire type. When you catch this thing, it is at level 50, so it is now the highest level Pokemon I've got on my team. The only downside with this thing is that once you catch it, the only moves that it's got that's going to actually do any damage is going to be Ember and Peck. And those are pretty low-powered moves that you should not really be relying on this point in the game. Finally, at hour 24, I reach Indigo Plateau. However, my Pokemon are not ready for this challenge, so I actually decide to go and train up a little bit more. And it's while training that my Ponyta finally reaches level 40, where it evolves into Rapidash. And you can see I've got Fire Spin, moves like Stomp and Horn Drill on it. Charizard here, I'm running with Flamethrower, Slash. I still have Submission from earlier. Arcanine here has Fire Blast, Reflect, Double Edge, and Toxic. Flareon has Swift, Ember, Reflect, and still Double Team. That's mainly for in instances where 1v1, my Flareon's obviously not going to be able to handle it. And then Moltres, my newest addition, with Peck, Fire Spin, Sky Attack, and Fly. I go ahead and make an attempt at the Elite Four, and it goes about the same way you would expect it if someone with only Fire types went against Lorelei, who has a lot of Water-type Pokemon on her team. I actually do get lucky later on, and I do finally defeat Lorelei. That's because Moltres gets a nice Sky Attack crit. Really what I needed. Bruno proves to not be much of a threat to us. We easily defeat Bruno, even though he does have 2 Onyxes on his team. Agatha is also pretty much a pushover. Charizard completely destroys her entire team here. However, Lance is a different beast. Watch this. He leads off with a Gyarados. Even though I try to go for a Body Slam, hoping to paralyze this thing, Gyarados one-shots Charizard with a Hydro Pump. And honestly, that's what Gyarados does here. It one-shots the rest of my entire team just with Hydro Pump. I decide I need to train up more, and I actually redo Charizard's moveset. This thing now has Flamethrower, Earthquake, Swords Dance, and Body Slam. That way, I can get a Swords Dance and do a ton of damage. The 36th hour, I go ahead and make another attempt, and I'll make it all the way to Lance's Gyarados again. And this time, by healing up some of my Pokemon, I'm able to outlast the Gyarados. So we now get to see Lance's other Pokemon, that being one of his Dragonairs. The Dragonairs do pack a wallop, but they're not the biggest threats. But now we see another huge threat, Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is a rock-flying type Pokemon, and it can hit really, really hard. And I don't really have anything super effective against this thing, because Earthquake, being a ground type move, doesn't hit Aerodactyl because it's a flying type. My normal type moves aren't super effective. They are not very effective. Same thing with my flying type moves, and even all of my fire type moves are not going to be super effective. After training up some more, I return, and this time I have better luck with Aerodactyl. The main reason is because I paralyze it with a nice Body Slam, and I also took the time to set up this Charizard, so it's doing a lot of damage. We're doing some nice Body Slams, getting critical hits, which surprisingly negates your stat boost in Generation 1, and that's why we're not doing as much damage against the Dragonite, but we are still able to finish off Lance. We defeat Lance almost exactly when the clock clicks to hour 38. So now it's time to face our rival for one last showdown before we become champions, of course. I lead off with Rapidash as my rival leads off with Pidgeot. Sky Attack does so much damage to Rapidash, and I'm here hoping that trapping it in a Fire Spin will be enough to whittle it down to where Rapidash can get a knockout. And it does, but almost goes down itself. Alakazam finishes off our Rapidash, unfortunately. But we go into Moltres, and Moltres can go for Fly. It doesn't quite take it out, but it does a lot of damage, and the Reflect helps it survive the next hit. We're going to see a Recover, which is actually scary, but we do finish it off with a Double Edge. We go ahead and Toxic Poison the Rhydon, because Rhydon being ground and rock, I am quite afraid of it. But I actually realized this thing doesn't have any good moves. It's going for Fury Attack, Tail Whip, stuff like that. So Flareon comes out, finishes it off. I go ahead, Double Team, trying to get some evasiveness, so that way I could 1v1 the remainder of his team. I end up going for Swift and finishing off the Arcanine with my Flareon. Next up is Executor. Flamethrower almost does it, and he surprisingly smacks me with a Hypnosis. But we do finish this thing off with a Flamethrower and a Swift. And now Blastoise, the one Pokemon I'm most afraid of. It hits us with a Hydro Pump, which is surprising. However, it does miss the next Hydro Pump, but it finishes off. Now it's time for Charizard to come in and clean up, giving us the championship. Now it's time to register our Fire-type team. Rapidash, able to get to level 51 and help us out. Charizard being the MVP at level 62 with the best moveset of all of my Pokemon. Flareon coming in and helping us out quite a bit. Arcanine being another great choice for our team. Moltres, one that you would think would be even more useful, but since it was so late in the game, it didn't really do as much, but it did help out a bit. And we ended up doing this by the 39th hour. I do think it's funny that now that we are the champion, Professor Oak is telling us to go get the Flash HM. Even though we have technically beat the game, I'll also use the 39th hour to kind of wrap up post-game stuff. I go into the Unknown Dungeon, and I defeat Mewtwo with my Fire-type team. I then defeat Zapdos and Articuno. And finally, ending the game, I defeat Missing Number. So that's it. There's not really much else for me to do with this challenge. So now I just take my place in the Cinnabar Island City Gym, and I am the gym leader. So if you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and let me know if you liked this style of video.